Hello and welcome to the history of Blurr. In 2005, Blurr was part of the Autobot detachment stationed at Autobot City on Earth, under Ultra Magnus' command. Using his hyperspeed, he quickly alerted the Autobots' ranks when Megatron and the Decepticons arrived to attack on the city. In defending the city, Blurr combined non-stop chatter with non-stop firepower and helped hold the Decepticons at bay until Optimus Prime and reinforcements could arrive from Moonbase One. In the aftermath of the attack, Blurr was working on repairs with several of the remaining Autobots when Galvatron struck. After failing to get the obstinate Dinobots aboard a shuttle, Blurr tossed the job over to Cup and Hot Rod, and leapt aboard the second shuttle with Ultra Magnus. Pursued by Galvatron through space, the shuttle crew managed to escape only after detonating 3/4 of the ship. In need of repairs, they landed hard on the planet of junk. While Blurr was attending to wield some work, Galvatron and his soldiers caught up with them. Things went from bad to worse after Galvatron killed Ultra Magnus and took the Matrix of Leadership, leaving the Autobots to deal with the planet's native inhabitants, the Junkions. Hostilities suddenly ceased, however, when Hot Rod and Cup arrived from Quintessa and negotiated peace with the Junkions. Blurr then flew into the final battle with the Planet Eater Unicron aboard the Junkion starship and was present when Hot Rod reclaimed Cybertron in the name of the Autobots. As part of their new era of peace and prosperity, the Autobots hosted the first annual Galactic Olympics several months later. Blurr really wanted to compete in the races, but instead was forced into a mission with Wheelie to bring Metroplex's transformation cog to Autobot City on Earth. The simple courier run soon became more hectic than it was worth. Running into the newly revived Decepticon leader Galvatron, Blurr and Wheelie were the first Autobots to face his renewed power, and ended up marooned on Jupiter's moon of Io. They encountered kamikaze creatures known as Lipoids, who struck in unison like a hive and could transform into explosive missiles. The Autobots received support from Marissa Fairborn of the Earth Defense Command. But it wasn't until Skylynx arrived that they finally managed to fight their way through the squad of Predacons and get off that rock. Blurr and Wheelie made it back to Autobot City and restored Metroplex's transforming ability just in time to sick the giant Autobot on his rival Trypticon. Blurr participated in several important Autobot missions in the following months. When Cup uncovered a plot by the Decepticons to acquire the indestructible death crystals for their own purposes, Blurr joined them and an Autobot unit to visit the source of the crystals on the planet Dread. Blurr faced the Predacons again on Dread and was almost consumed by Quick Mud before Skylynx pulled him free. Blurr and the other Autobots managed to keep Predaking busy long enough for the Cup to rouse Chaos, the creature who was the source of the death crystals. Turning the crystals against Chaos himself, the Autobots destroyed the monster and deprived the Decepticons of their new weapon. Later, Blurr joined Perceptor in exploring a bowl-shaped asteroid near Cybertron, and in doing so came across a Quintesson time window. During the battle with the Sharkicons and Quintesson star cruisers, Blurr fell through the time window along with Wreck-Gar, Blaster, and some of his cassettes. The Autobots found themselves 11 million years in the past working with Beta and her rebellion as the first Autobots stood up against the Quintesson Masters. Once the rebel leader, A3, returned and used his Coda remote on the Dark Guardians, Blurr and his Autobot friends made their way back through the vortex and into the present once again. When the Hate Plague was released, Blurr was one of several Autobots who were damaged and taken out of action early during the catastrophe. As a result, he was unaffected by the plague and, after some repair work by a Quintesson, was able to help the newly activated Optimus Prime in his search for a cure. Sometime later on Cybertron, Blurr was beaten in a race by Hot Rod and Daniel Witwicky. This was done in part to prove that the engineer Brainstorm's theory that the Autobots could function better with human partners somehow incorporated into their fighting discipline. Little did anyone realize how soon that theory would be tested. After a major Decepticon offensive on Autobot City, Optimus Prime radioed Cup, Blurr, and others on Cybertron, warning them that the Decepticons were headed for the plasma energy chamber deep within the planet's surface. The Autobots arrived just in time to prevent Scourge from unleashing too much plasma energy using the key he's stolen from Earth. What little plasma energy had been released, however, was enough to overcharge the engines of the Autobot ship, launching them out into space. Blurr and his comrades crash-landed on the planet Nebulos and were quickly taken hostage by a group of rebels, fighting against the machine army of their overlords, the Hive. The Autobots managed to convince their hosts to release them when the Decepticons arrived in hot pursuit, but Blurr and several other warriors were deactivated and taken hostage by the Decepticons as they fled. Brainstorm decided to put his ideas into action and created a binary bonded partnership between the remaining Autobots and the rebels, forming the Headmasters. The Headmasters rescued Blurr and others, but were soon forced to fight again when the Decepticons joined forces with the Hive, having created both Headmasters and Target Master duos in response. This tech war continued when Brainstorm scanned one of the Hive Target Masters and used those scans to recreate the technology for the remaining Autobots. Blurr was binary bonded with Haywire, one of the Nebulan sharpshooters. Thank you for watching the History of Blurr. Special thanks to Transformers Wiki for all information you heard today. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you can. If you already have, then thank you, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.